Next on the agenda is Representative Knorr. House File 467, and again, this is in possession of the committee. Representative Knorr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move House File 467 to be laid over for possible inclusion. Mr.
I'm going to correct you, Representative Knorr. A member cannot move a bill to be laid over. Only the chair can move a bill to be laid over.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chair.
we do not have motions to lay bills over because we are in possession of the bill. So I know it's becoming common practice around this place to do it, and it's sloppy, and frankly, it doesn't work. So we're in possession of the bill. We're going to keep in possession of the bill. The bill's before us, and you have an amendment, I believe, and we need to put that amendment on.
I have a DE1, Mr. Chair.
To the DE1, Representative Knorr moves the DE1 amendment. To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the entire bill, so I will go over. Mr. Chair, this is the emergency assistance for post-secondary students. Members, if you all know, we have got so many students who are homeless, who are facing financial insecurity, especially with housing crisis that we have, with also food insecurity. Likewise, there are students who are facing minor emergencies that this program, when it was created, was intended to serve students when they have got needs and their families. This bill appropriates $7.55 million for fiscal year 24-25, provides $5 million for fiscal year 24-25 for Minnesota State colleges, $2 million for University of Minnesota for 24-25, appropriates $500,000 for the tribal colleges and eligible nonprofit institutions. It also provides $50,000 for administration through the Office of Higher Education. Members, this IPS program was created in 2017. And during the pandemic, we saw the need that went up, and thank goodness we had the federal program that supported many of the students. To that, Mr. Chair, that's all what the bill is before us.
All right, we're on the A1 amendment, members, so discussion to the A1 amendment. I'm sorry.
DE1, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, DE1, sorry. To the amendment.
Mr. Chair, that was essentially the entire bill as the amendment. So
All right,
I would ask for the...
DE1 members. Representative Ruff.
Thank you, Representative Knorr, for bringing this bill. And I see that the program has been around since 2017. So I wondered if you could, has there been any reporting requirements about how many students have used it and how they use the money? And are the students required to provide any documentation of how they use the money, or once they get the grant, they can just spend it however they want?
Representative Knorr.
Mr. Chair, I'm aware there's always a report produced by the Office of Higher Education. If I can phone a friend, Mr. Chair.
Representative Roberts.
That would be great.
Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
For the record, my name is Nikki Oliver. I'm the Director of Grants and Government Relations for the Minnesota Office of Higher Education, and I'd like to note I was not hiding behind an elevator today. To your question, we do develop a report. I do have the program administrator here if you want actual numbers for how many students received the program, the funding we run, and the way the program is ran currently is the money goes to the institutions, and the institutions run their own individualized programs because they know their students best. Students, it varies across institutions how they run the program and what information the student must apply to them, and it also depends on what their need is. Most students are applying for transportation emergencies and housing emergencies. So institutions can issue checks directly to vendors or repair shops and not directly to the student.
Representative Robin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Yeah, I would love to see a broader report on how the program is run and the reporting requirements. I think it's really important that we track that well. And I had one more question.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you. And while you're here, so are nonprofits currently eligible as well to receive this money, or is that new under the DE?
Ms. Oliver.
Chair, Representative, nonprofit institutions are eligible for receiving the grant funds.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you. So just any additional information you provide on the nonprofits who receive it as well would be great. Thank you.
Ms. Oliver, you want to? No?
Yes, Chair. I will forward you the latest report and also the numbers of and current participating institutions.
Representative Cleveland.
Can I clarify something?
I'm sorry, Ms. Oliver.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify, they're the post-secondary institutions, not nonprofit organizations. Just making that clear. They're colleges. Just wanted to make that clear.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you. So that's why I'm asking, is the language that allows it now to also go to eligible nonprofits new to the program? It's lines 1.13.
Ms. Oliver.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Representative, it's still the nonprofit institutions, post-secondary institutions under Minnesota statute. So it references which institutions we're talking about. It's not nonprofit organizations. It's nonprofit post-secondary institutions.
That clarifies it.
I guess I'm sure they'll be listed in the report you sent, so I'll look forward to that. Thank you.
All right, Representative Cleveland, did you have a question?
Mr. Chair, my question was really about protecting the privacy of the students, and I don't know how the data, when we look at this, I just want to make sure that we are making always honoring and respecting the privacy of the student, and that in no way would the data be trackable as to what student would be homeless or what student, but just as disaggregated data. Is that correct in the
Ms.
report?
Oliver.
Mr. Chair, Representative Cleveland, we all in the institutions have to abide by FERPA laws, so we do protect the students' data.
Awesome.
Representative Cleveland.
Awesome, just making sure. Thank you so much.
Further questions to the amendment? We have one more, I think, testifier. Representative North, you have two testifiers. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee. Maya Sullivan, Dean of Students at Metropolitan State University. Thank you for allowing me to be here. So yesterday, I received an email from one of our students, and in the title, it stated they had a dire financial emergency. Our student detailed financial challenges they have experienced and detailed their financial needs. They shared how not receiving support would likely cause their academic journey to end for now, and they shared how ending their academic journey for now would be devastating in many ways. I am saying our student because this is Metropolitan State University student, but they are also your student. And in fact, all of Metropolitan State University students are our students and your students as our Menn State students. They are on an educational path that can be simply appended by an often relatively small financial emergency. At Metro State, we know that more than 90% of students receiving emergency financial assistance are retained, so they might complete their academic journey. And therefore, programs like this are necessary to support academic completion and to continue to develop our workforce and economy. So let me just give you a little bit more information about Metro State. We currently have over 9,000 students that we're serving, most of whom are undergraduate and most of whom transferred, and about 60% are part-time. 56% are first-generation students, and 51% of our students are students of color. Metro State also notably ranks 22 in the nation of CollegeNet's 2022 Social Mobility Index. That's the top 1.6%. That index measures an institution's ability to help a student move from low income to mid income within 5 years after they're graduating from college or university. So we currently have a vacancy in our coordinator position, and so I've been supporting this work quite a bit over the last several months. And in this academic year, I can tell you that in this post-COVID world, we have provided support to about close to 80 students with the funds that we have on our campus. And those funds are primarily from fundraising efforts that our foundation has done over time. A lot of that money comes from employees or other private individuals providing funds. The story that I've shared is a story that's very similar at other institutions in the Mid-State system, as well as other higher education institutions. And for Mid-State in general, providing students with access to emergency grants is an essential component of our approach to addressing basic needs and security. What we hear from our students is that, as I mentioned before, a simple financial emergency could cause a significant interference in their academic journey. Another thing that we know is that for many students who have financial emergencies, that is not the only type of basic need issue that they're experiencing. So they may be experiencing the financial emergency. They might also be experiencing food insecurity or housing insecurity or something similar to that. One of the things that we know from our institutions is, like Metro State, many of our other Mid-State institutions have foundations who are fundraising, receiving private donations to be able to support students with emergency financial assistance. And a lot of that has happened even as we've, again, as I mentioned before, lost funding once the COVID-related federal funds have ended. And even though those funds have ended, we know that the need that students have, of course, has not ended. National studies have demonstrated that emergency grant support makes a significant difference in the ability of students to remain enrolled, succeed academically, and to ultimately complete their degree program, and then to contribute positively to our workforce and economy. Notably, many of our students remain in Minnesota and provide support in our economy and our local industry. And for these reasons, committee members and chair, I would like to ask for your support in HF467. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share about this most important need and for the opportunity to testify in this hearing.
Thank you, Dean Sullivan. And I think you have one more testifier, a student. Welcome to the committee, and please identify yourself for the record.
Hello, Chair Pawlowski and members of the committee. My name is Jared Van Horn. I'm a student at Dakota County Technical College and with Lead MN, the statewide student association representing Minnesota's 100,000 community and technical college students. And I'm one of those students that, if not for emergency funding, I would not have been, I don't think I would be enrolled in my institution anymore. So I'm here today to speak in favor of House File 467, which is legislation that will provide emergency grants to students in need. Firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude to Representative Knorr for bringing forward this impactful piece of legislation. It'll provide critical support for students in need. Temporary setbacks can place low-income students in vulnerable positions and threaten their college careers and success. While typical financial aid helps make college affordable and accessible, it does not cover additional and increased living expenses for things like rent, utility bills, health care, child care, or other unexpected costs like medical bills, car repairs, or lack of income due to job loss. Emergency grants provide a lifeline to students like me, but these programs were rare before the pandemic. The COVID relief money to higher education institutions was critical in helping so many students stay in school while facing unforeseen costs during the pandemic. Now that the pandemic is over, the need for these programs has not gone away. This legislation is a great tool to give colleges and universities across Minnesota the ability to help vulnerable students complete their degrees. It is worth noting that a number of states had emergency grant programs before the pandemic, from New York to Wisconsin to even here in Minnesota. And a study in New York found that of the students receiving these emergency grants, 94% were still enrolled in college or had successfully graduated or completed their program of study in the semester immediately following the receiving their award. So that represents an 18-point increase in retention rates for New York campuses. That's a significant number. Part of the success of this program is not just the grant itself. The process also increased students' awareness of the broader range of support available to them on campus and in the surrounding community. 8 and 10 recipients noted that applying for the grant caused them to learn about other services and resources that they didn't know about beforehand. So emergency grants provided a critical lifeline to me. When I was living at home with my father, who went on furlough during the pandemic from his job, and the car I relied on to get to school every day broke down. I didn't have enough money to cover the repair costs right then and there, and I was unable to get to school for my required in-person classes until my car got repaired. I was left with really no other options, but luckily Dakota County Technical College offered an emergency grant program, and I was able to fill out the documentation and within the same day receive money to repair my car, and then within that week I was back in school. So this allowed me to overcome a significant obstacle that I really don't see an easy route to overcoming without this emergency grants. So this experience has been a lifeline for me, and it's made it very clear that emergency funds for basic needs are essential for students' well-being and academic success. The amount of money is small, but the impact is huge for every single one of these students. And it's hard to quantify 500 students that have been impacted, but every single one of those students, their stories are legitimately changed because of these emergency funds, and this legislation will allow colleges and universities to scale up this proven program, and it will help boost retention and boost graduation rates. Thank you.
Mr. Van Horn, what area are you going into?
So I'm studying architecture, but I just love learning. I'd like to be a legislator one day, but
What did you learn? Stay in architecture.
Trust me, I know.
Sorry, Mr. Sorry.
Members, Mr. Van Horn, this building is being redone, so we need good architecture.
Yeah.
So it's a great field you're going into. Thank you. And you have one more testifier, Representative North. Welcome to the committee, and please identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sia Sacredande, and I'm the state coordinator for the undergraduate student government at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I'm here today in support of House File 467 because of how beneficial emergency grants have been to our students on campus, who are already financially strained with the high cost of tuition and the lack of affordable food and housing options. College students tend to live on extremely tight financial budgets that they have to stick to make ends meet every month. This may mean that towards the end of their budget period, they are running out of food or are forced to pay their rent or tuition later because the money just isn't there. Adding in an emergency financial crisis means that students are left helpless. Our organization's Vice President, Zeke Jackson, shared his personal experience with the financial relief provided by the emergency grants, which I will be sharing with you all today. Zeke benefited from being awarded an emergency grant after he withdrew from a class that he was auditing. This withdrawal caused a reduction in his financial aid, which he was not informed of, and this meant that he would have to pay $400 on the spot. Paying the $400 meant that Zeke would not have enough money to pay for groceries to feed himself. In receiving the emergency grant to pay the balance not covered by his financial aid anymore, Zeke was able to support himself again. On a campus of over 30,000 undergraduate students, Zeke is only one story of dozens of students who undergo similarly stressful financial situations and shocks, ranging from financial aid limitations to emergency medical procedures. Students should not be experiencing consequences for an emergency situation that they do not have any control over, especially when financially supporting yourself through college is hard enough. Increasing awareness of these financial support systems that can assist students during hard times would be the first step to helping students through the financial crisis that they face. Expanding these programs to support more people would be one of the ways that your committee would be able to help soften the financial burden of higher education. Financial assistance is often seen as the solution to the increasing cost of tuition, but when the cost of textbooks, food, and housing are also increasing, emergency funding would be one avenue that could cushion students who are already overworked and often undervalued and underpaid. By funding these direct emergency grants, your committee would be providing the support needed during a time of crisis for many students across our campus and across our state, which is why we're in support of this bill today. Thank you.
Members, I don't believe we've adopted the amendment yet, so why don't we put the bill in order? Representative Knorr moves the DE1 amendment, and we've had discussion on it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted and the bill is in order. Now to the bill as amended. Members. Representative McDonald.
Thank you. Say, Representative Moore, I got a question regarding maybe the endowments on the University of Minnesota or other schools. The alumni, of course, and other philanthropic ventures donate to the universities for students. Would this be something that could be used for emergency for the students? I mean, I see that the majority of this is housing, rent, groceries, gas, and a lot of the funds and endowments are philanthropic and donated with great care by previous, alumni or other generous donors. Seems to be, if it's allowed, that would be a good fit for that. Do you have any idea on that?
Nor.
Mr. Chair, I don't speak for the University of Minnesota, but I think there's a requirement for 50% contribution from the institution.
Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, Representative Noor, can you say that again, a 50% investment?
I think there's a requirement for matching funds from the institution, if I'm correct.
Representative McDonald.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Noor, matching funds from the university to a student?
Any institution that receives the emergency grant are required to provide a matching fund for that.
Is that right? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Seeing none, then thank you. The bill as amended is still in possession of the committee and under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.